Welcome. It's August 14th, 2013, and this is the Communication Commission meeting. We will call it to order at 7:05. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some guests here tonight, and I thought they... Oh, we don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can. We have guests, and they probably don't want to sit through our meeting. Would you like to go first, if everybody has no problem with me changing the agenda?
Not at all.
Gentlemen? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Bob Zelasco, and this gentleman next to me, who you all know, is Mr. Carl Fletcher. We're fellow commissioners, and we came here this evening to try and be professional and ask you for your approval and permission to pursue a project that we have that's going to utilize Groseal TV.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the back, they all have a number. You get the right number you want to find.
I'm like, what?
It wouldn't be get out of jail free, would it?
It's a documentary program, and it's about the history of Groseal, how it evolved over the years, and how the police department has also evolved with it. As you know, next year is going to be our 100th anniversary of the township, 2014. The program itself is a documentary updating the history of how the police department has evolved in conjunction with the history of the township. Is that me?
No.
That's someone who's beeping.
Okay.
I think I'm muted.
What we're going to do is we're going to start in the beginning, and we've gathered a lot of information from the Historical Society, et cetera, with their help. And we're going to take it up into where we are today. In addition to that, we wanted to branch off on that program and do what we called, as you see on their shorts. All of our officers do extracurricular activities, such as dive team, DARE, K-9, etc. And what we would like to do is branch off and do these shorts, introducing the officers and the department to the community, and let them see exactly what the police department has to offer. So basically, in a nutshell, that's the program. Groseal TV is a very valuable tool, and I don't think it's really utilized to its full extent. We'd like to take advantage of that if we could.
I totally agree with you. It's not utilized enough, and it is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Mr. Fletcher. The program, as Bob noted, is two parts. One is the history and the other is people-oriented. And the police commission and on the fire department, we believe that community involvement is a key to public safety. And from our perspective, that means getting the community to know our officers, our ladies and gentlemen that work in the department. We have had an opportunity to hire some wonderful people. They do a great job. We're hoping that we can use Groseal TV to showcase them, to showcase the department, and frankly, treat it as a bit of an educational process as well. One of the things that we're looking at, we've done a short already with the animal control officer, and Julie Cordes is somebody I think probably everybody in this room knows, and she just sparkles. And the work that Ted has done, and Marie and Kelly and Megan is just phenomenal. We saw this short today for the first time. I understand it's about 7 minutes. I invite you, if you have an opportunity and the time, to take a look at it. I thought for a rough draft, and frankly, I go to the movies, have popcorn pop, and fall asleep about halfway through. This isn't something you're going to fall asleep on. They really do a first-class job. And we want to thank you for the opportunity. Most importantly, we want to recognize those people that are making it look so good. Our goal ultimately is to include not only members of the police department, but to also offer through Girls Eel TV the opportunity and advertisement for community involvement, such things as when we do a short with first aid and some of the life-saving our officers have been involved, advertise that we would hope to be able to do some first aid classes at Public Safety. Make it a real community event, and we're off to a great start. The short is absolutely wonderful. If you have time, please take a look at it. And our thanks to your entire staff, and most certainly Ted for all the work that he's done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ted and his crew have done an excellent job, just excellent.
They always do.
They take something and turn it into a diamond, it's just.
Well, not in every case, because when I asked Ted what he could do as part of the introduction and some of the narration I have to do, I asked Ted if he could make me look 10 years younger and 20 pounds lighter, and he said, yeah, give me a stand-in. With that one hitch, we've had a wonderful time. The product is superb, and we're enjoying this. And we thank you for the opportunity and hope that you'll let us do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
I actually do.
Fournier, do you have anything to say? You want to add to that?
I was going to see what Ted wanted to add and how he is with staffing and doing this.
Both these gentlemen are a real pain to work with. No, as I explained to both Carl and Bob and Joe Porcerelli this afternoon, that when I hired in here a few years back, the mandate that I was given is to create programming for GITV that is of interest and of importance to Grosse Ile. And I can't think of anything more important than the police department and the work they do. And what I've learned is Bob was a little modest. Bob put a list together of 16 possibilities for these short little features, and I didn't think that the police department did 16 things in a given day, but there's 16 different possibilities that their officers are trained at. And over the course of the next year, hopefully before that, we're going to get all 16 done. And they include the dive team, the police boat, which we've already taped some stuff, and my granddaughter had a chance to work and get on the police boat, so she enjoyed that. We've done one with the animal shelter, which I know is of great importance to Kathy. And the next one we've done today was with the DARE officers, which is of great importance to our 5th and 6th grade kids. And we've got a couple more planned that we hope to get before the end of the year. So we'd like to have 5, 6 of these short features on what's going on done by the end of the year. And then the big project is the history of the Grosse Ile Police Department, which Bob is doing all the research and legwork. And it dawned on us probably after this 3rd or 4th meeting that we're coming up on the 100-year centennial of the Grosse Ile Police Department. And without giving away the story, Bob has got pictures of all the police chiefs, and we found old jail pictures, and he's got stories of some crimes, and he is arranging for interviews with our senior citizens that when they remember back in the 40s and 30s of police enforcement. So it's going to start there, and it's going to end with the transition to the new department. And if we can get Joe Porcerelli to read his cue cards, it'll go a lot smoother. But that's what we plan to do. And I know we've already started it, but I just want you to know that Bob and Carl both said that they wanted to come before you and present it, but that's the mandate we're operating on, that this will be of great importance to the community, and we're developing a program for GITV, so that's how we started it.
Ted, do you remember we did a TV show for when our previous animal control officer retired, and we introduced Julie, and we introduced Chief Porcerelli. Perhaps you want to look at some of that tape too, because we interviewed him at that time, and he doesn't like to speak publicly, it seems, but it was nice.
Joe did a great job, dude. What Carl was referring to, we are about 3 edits away from showing this.
Okay.
we're gonna try to get it done by Saturday and on TV, but it might not be till next week. We saw the first cut, and Joe Porcerelli and Bob made a couple of, little, he's a critic. I mean, he wants certain music in certain spots and all kinds of stuff like that, so.
Raise the bar.
So it is well edited. The people that I'm using are very talented. Marie, which did the majority of
Bridge.
the work on the bridge project, is heading the documentary on the history, and Kelly is doing most of the editing on the shorts. But we're about 3 edits away from having the animal shelter, animal control officer. I mean, it's not featuring the shelter, it's featuring the police to do the work at the shelter, So that's the way we're going. And like Carl said, I think it's come out really good as our first short. So.
Great. Thank you for coming.
And hopefully we can get the gun range so that you guys can
Yeah,
start working on that in the
one of
future
16,
too.
I think, isn't it? One of the 16.
Okay.
We're also going to do, there's a lot of technical stuff, IT things that happen over there, and whatever they do, we're going to document. And some of them will be 3-4 minutes, some of them will be 7 minutes, but we're going to make them concise and interesting and informative.
So essentially, they can be used independently as well as one big production.
Well, we're not going to show all the shorts back to back to back. They're going to be
Be part of
placed in between.
Other programs?
Carl's going to do a short
Okay.
introduction
Nice.
to each one, and then so basically what will happen is we'll have a station ID, one of these shorts will come on, then the meeting will come on, and then after the meeting, we'll run another short or the same one, and then the next show will come on. So they're going to be interdispersed among the shows. So over a course of the weekend, we'll be able to show 12 or 18 of these shorts in between, before and after meetings and stuff. So if we got you for the meeting, you're going to immediately, go
Yeah.
into the shorts, or if you tuned in for the meeting, you're going to
So-
have to see a short before you watch the meeting.
Will those shorts then also become part of the archive? Like when you put the meeting on the archive, can the short be a part of that archive?
We can archive it, yeah.
Because I
Cool.
think where I was headed with this independent, while you weren't looking, they switched on you, by the way.
Oh.
So Carl is here and Bob is here.
I'm the good looking one.
I didn't know we had,
Yeah, you
I got Carlton, I'm sure.
Oh, that's so good.
One thing we do as a crew is every time we invite Carl, when we back away, we check for our wallets.
So, just because he's a lawyer, right? So, what I wanted to ask you is, Carl had brought up the educational aspect, and I'm just thinking, when these become DVDs, or when they're archived, these are also things you can take to the schools. Like you mentioned the DARE officer, you mentioned the animal shelter. These, you can take these shorts, the teachers would probably enjoy being able to show the kids
sure.
something local and, of interest to them locally. So I think, I'm really excited that you're doing this.
And could I suggest when the dive team is working that they might possibly film at the new soft launch where We Kayak goes out? Just a thought.
You can suggest it, but
I'm just suggesting.
this is the producer-writer, so.
But it is
you
a-
have the ideas and he's doing all the background, and we're putting his ideas and his production thoughts on video or on digital, but.
You're being modest. We can't do this without you.
It's just something,
Right. If
another
that
place.
wasn't for me, that would go. But I'm just saying, if you have an idea, start it with Bob.
Great. Well, that's my suggestion, just a suggestion. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Anybody else?
Thank you.
And we thank you for all your service.
And with regards to what you were saying, we've been trying to prepare an awareness and an education program both at the police department, and by doing this, you're going to give us the opportunity to put that on the library that we can pull out at any time, so it's going to be an excellent. So what you're referring to is exactly what we had in mind. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So just apropos the archive too, I watched, in order to prepare the minutes and to basically confirm from the last meeting, I watched the minutes in the archive, and I was watching it from my laptop, and the quality was terrible. It really was not working very well. Later on, I watched it from my iPad, and the buffering must have been much better, but the quality was fantastic. I could go back and forth, so as a resource for citizens watching commission meetings, watching your police commission meetings and the shorts, they will have an opportunity to look at those things over and over again. As we talked about mobile, it will be right where they have their source to watch. So we're not restricted to GITV, Channel 10, Channel 90. We can actually watch it on our
Streaming videos.
streaming video.
Streaming video. Granicus.
I'd like to follow that up with a thought for a moment. One of the things that has truly been a revelation, and I've lived on Grosse-Ile all my life, but when we talk to some of the people that have been here 70, 80, 90 years, it is amazing what they have to say. And to preserve that is an opportunity that we're being offered that is just, I wish we had started something like this 20 or 30 years ago. You look at some of the people that are passing, we're constantly reminded there are more World War II veterans dying every day than there were in the war. And that's a treasure that's being denied to current and future generations. One of my greatest hopes here is that we will be able to have other people step forward and say, gosh, that's really worthwhile doing. And once they get involved and see how much fun it truly is, and even though I've been a lawyer for 30 years, standing in front of a camera is intimidating at first, but gosh, you really, really enjoy the product. When you see something come through, you feel great. And I'm hoping that other groups within the community realize what you have to offer, the program that you have, the talent that you have, and they're going to step forward and hopefully do the same thing before more time and more people pass. And I just really think that this is a wonderful opportunity for the community to capitalize on something. I'm hoping that we can have other people come forward and do the same thing, because we're having a lot of fun.
The Historical Society did do this, and they used Gray Mather, who was a trustee at one time. He's a longtime resident, and also Bill Heinrich, who is also a wealth of knowledge. His stories were just spellbinding. But you're right, there are so many people out there that should come forward and participate, get involved.
Bill is in our program.
And
You have that, Bill.
I was going to say that, but, a suggestion.
if you listen to NPR with any regularity, they also have that program called StoryCorps, where they travel the country collecting stories. One person telling another person a story, a 5-minute story about their life or about an experience they had, fathers and daughters, grandparents and grandchildren. Today every day they have something new to offer. And I think we do have the resource here in conjunction with not just the PD, but the Historical Society, the schools, the music, all the different groups that have gotten involved, for them to do these community shorts. And we could actually create our own StoryCorps, for the future generations that will hopefully love growing up here as much as we all did.
Communication is key. You folks are doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. Alrighty. Well, that's a hard act to follow, but has everybody had time to review the agenda? Is there any amendments, or do I have a motion to approve?
I will move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
I second it.
Richard seconds. Alrighty. Has everybody had a chance to
Vote.
what? Excuse me? Vote. Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me. And can we? That's fine. It's been a while. And may I have a vote of everybody who approves the agenda as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Nay. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? And thank you very much for our new secretary's contribution. It's been 4 years for me. I'm so grateful to you. Any corrections or additions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Sharon, second.
I second.
Richard? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. It passes unanimously. Yay. Go
I
ahead.
do have a question about the minutes.
Okay.
Traditionally, minutes really just record the order of business of a body and not discussion, not verbatim back and forth conversation of the commissioners. I'm a strong advocate of minutes just presenting the motions and the votes. But in the history of this commission, you have in all the minutes presented highlights of conversations and discussions by the board. So in this version that I did, I tried to keep it general, but still give the gist of the conversation without doing a he said, she said. I'm hoping that you all approve of that, because I think that comes to a good compromise. I think people will look at the minutes and want to see some of the topics that were discussed. But if we only provide action items for a township board meeting, that makes more sense because it's such an extensive agenda. But here it is possible to provide some context. But again, I didn't want to go into the serious detail of verbatim. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was okay with it.
I was a warm body for 4 years. I had no background in this. I was just trying to survive, so
No, you did a
whatever
very
you
good
want to
job.
do.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Okay, thank you. I just don't want to make a change.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was
Okay.
good as well.
Thank you.
Compromise.
They're done. Yay.
They're done.
They're done.
Well, thank you.
Okay, and moving on. Reports of board and standing committee, our township liaison, Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, as I was driving by the public safety building, and I noticed, it shows the radio station, and I wanted to ask Ted, is there a way for us to actually maybe broadcast our meetings on radio as well? I mean, I don't know if that's even
It's,
technologically
yeah,
possible.
You basically, what you have to do is call, we have to have a phone connection to the radio. The radio's controlled by the fire department.
Uh-huh.
Just if you want to pat yourself on the back, this commission paid for it. And basically, it's underutilized, I'll agree, but if any department wants to, there are like, I think it's, I want to say 90-second or 3-minute blocks everybody can record on there. So there's about 15 minutes of record time. But if you were just to dial into it and keep the line open the whole time, I imagine it's possible, but we've never tried it.
I mean, it kind of seems like that might be interesting for all the commissions to maybe consider something like that, as well as the board. It's just one more mechanism to communicate to the public, so if they didn't actually have access to TV that evening, or if they're out on their boat or whatever it may be, they might be able to, I mean, granted, I know that the radius probably isn't all that
The radius
fabulous.
is probably up to the expressway and up to a little part of Wyandotte, because I think Wyandotte has a radio station.
Mhm.
So, but I think one time I picked it up at the corner of Millbelt and Eureka, right at the corner. But if you cross Eureka across Millbelt and Westland, 1700 is on that corner.
Okay.
So
I would find it amazing that anybody on a boat would be listening to the radio.
Well, you never know. You never
You never know. There's always
Well,
a
they could
point.
play Jimmy Buffett in between.
But it is 1700 AM,
Yeah.
and so that is,
well, when we first got it, the problem was most radios only went up to 1600, and the car radios were going up to 1700, so you had to basically go to your car to go listen to it. But now more and more of the new radios, but then ask yourself how many people even listen to the radios, because everybody's listening to their radio on the iPad.
Right.
Yeah, so we're not there, so.
Okay. My other thought was, in speaking with Eric Ranka in regards to commissions, what he had recommended is also putting together or having a vice chair. So not necessarily a co-chair, but just in case, Kathy, you weren't able to attend, that somebody else would be able to manage the meeting and go forward. Typically, most of the other commissions have that.
I'm only aware of one, but I don't really have a problem with it, but I am only aware of one,
Mhm.
which is the rec department.
Mhm.
But also you can, the body can, in the absence of the chair, vote to
Yeah.
nominate somebody
Yeah.
to
Okay,
run the
that's
meeting.
fine.
Okay.
We only have really 3 members.
Right,
And a chair
right.
and a liaison,
Yeah, well,
so
hopefully with a,
we'll
we'll
try to
add.
recruit, but.
right. All right, then that sounds good if we
But
can
it's a
just
good idea.
during,
Yeah.
yeah, if ever there's an absence,
Well, in 4 years, I've missed 2 meetings.
Right.
And one was, they changed it twice on me, and one, my computer was dead.
Right,
So we
yeah.
had no meeting, so,
Yeah.
but you can always vote somebody in that night, not a problem. Okay,
good deal.
Anything
And,
else?
No, that is pretty much it.
great, thank you. And Mr. Fournier?
A couple things to report. First of all, I don't want to go into details, but starting Monday, I'm going to be probably taking a few weeks off to get a few things straightened out. And so in my absence, in the control room right now, Angie is going to run the date evening to evening duties. She'll be changing the community bulletin board, making sure the meetings are covered, which is already done, scheduling the meetings and changing the schedule. I don't know, I might be off as low as 3 weeks, and I might be off a little longer. After the meeting, I can, tell you why. Kelly Marcotte's going to be handling the webpage. He designed and built it, so he'll be taking care of those things day to day. And if any shoots need to be shot, Angie will get a hold of Marie, and Marie will shoot anything that gets done, so the department will be covered. We've been working this summer basically with the police commission a lot. We've had a lot of meetings with them, and a lot of things have been getting done. We spent time taping. The other issue is that we still don't have the TriCaster in the control room. The TriCaster was back ordered because of the sale that they had. They had something like 453 were ordered, and by the time they got, ours was back ordered. It is now sitting in Troy, getting configured, and after giving it a lot of thought, there are some little things that we are going to have to wire correctly when they install it. I am going to ask them to not install it until I'm back. So instead of having it done this month, it'll probably be around the 1st of October that I'll have them come in and install it. So
I can pick it up if you want.
it's a matter that the desk is custom. We've got a custom-made desk that fits in, and it's, all the software is being installed. And plus, the way we wire it, because we have 4 cameras in here and 2 other camera outlets and 2 cameras downstairs, it all has to be wired in correctly so that we can utilize all the things that we have in the TriCaster. So I would feel more comfortable being there as they're routing it and everything. And also, the crew that I'll have here for the next few weeks is very familiar with what we have, and we're going to need some training on the new equipment, so I would like to be there for the training and stuff. So it's just a matter of a few weeks. It'll be delayed. There was one other thing. I can't recall, but that's basically what's going on. So.
Okay, thank you, Ted. I have a brief one. We were off last month because we were knee-deep in the interview process for the new website, the proposed new website. And we spent a lot of time organizing things, preparing, and we'll go into that later, but there was a lot of effort put into it. We were also investigating Wi-Fi for the marina. We did receive a bid. No, way too high. So we're pursuing other bids from marina Wi-Fi people. Luckily, we all know people that are in the marina business. So I'm hoping that we can get something in the future to present to the rec department, because it's really important to be competitive. They pay a lot of money at the marina, and almost every marina you go to has Wi-Fi. So for the township to get revenue from transient dockage, that would be something, I know if we were out and a marina didn't have Wi-Fi, my husband would keep on moving, because I don't think I can live without it now. And so we are pursuing that. And lastly, I have finished my HTML5 class and CSS. Woo-hoo! So we're done, and that has helped us, thanks to Richard's encouragement, to understand what we're presenting. We have a huge task ahead of us. Tonight's going to be a very exciting night, because we are going to talk about the interviews and who we favor, and I think that's something that is just going to be wonderful for the community. I know right now they're not utilizing the web page as much as they should. There's a lot of information on it. Hopefully a little facelift like this will make a big difference. So that's where we're at. And now I would like to move on to point 5, which is a discussion regarding our website vendor interviews. And before we start, I'd like everybody to acknowledge one way or the other if they have, because I want to make sure there's no conflict of interest down the pike. Does anybody have a business relationship with them currently, prior, or in the future? Does any of the 4 that we've decided we're looking at? Okay, I want to make sure so nobody can say there was a fix-in. Alrighty, so let's talk about our 4 interviews. I would like to keep this all positive and say why we prefer, as opposed to why we didn't choose. And why don't we start with our liaison? Which one did you prefer, and the positive reasons why?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for coordinating. I thought that the whole day went very well.
Thank you.
It was good to actually speak with each and every one of them, although I wasn't necessarily speaking directly. They kind of were just presenting to all of us. I will say that I definitely favored Revise. I felt that the presentation was spot on. I like the idea that a vendor is here in Michigan, as well as close as Troy. I thought that the security aspect, the idea that there's redundant server locations in multiple locations, serving other 48 different municipalities, as well as counties and states across the United States. Having a lot of additional training, no additional costs that we unfolded actually during that particular time frame was very important to me, because I think some of the other vendors had, kind of relayed that, okay, all of a sudden there's an additional fee for this or that wasn't necessarily part of the initial proposal. So I would put our commission dollars and our tax dollars behind Revise.
Okay, thank you. And our next representative, Richard?
I think Revise was very good. They did mention one thing about increase is more people who had access to it.
Yeah.
It would cost more. So that's one issue that we have to keep in mind. Other than that, I saw no problem with them. I also like how they were open. So if you wanted, they were stating that if you decide to no longer go with them, you could still access the page and make changes. Whereas the other vendors said they had some of the proprietary information, you would not be able to change it as well. So I'm going to recommend Revise as well.
Okay. In the meeting, we also had Ted, and Dale Reen was present for the entire thing. Ted, would you like to give your opinion?
I think the consensus Revise was the first one. There was 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I think they finished 1, 2, and 3, and 4. The only you said keep it positive. The only non-positive thing was what Richard said about they give us 5 access accounts, and if we want more, it's $80 a month more. And I think the solution to that is if another department wants access, we'll just charge them for it.
Cost charge.
Either that
For
or
the profit.
And I am, it's the will what you guys want, but if I was starting this right now in everybody's budget, there's an administrative cost that each department pays. I think it started off at 1%. We're now up to 2% of our budget goes to cover our administrative costs. You know, the Cable Commission maintains the website, but we're not the #1 users. We're probably one of the #9 users or #10 users. I firmly see this as an asset to all the departments, and if I had my wish that all the departments would share on the cost, but I'm just a facilitator. I don't make the rules. So, but that would be a way if we had initially 5 users and the 6th or 7th or 8th came in and the cost went up. I think if somebody requested that they want usership, that department should probably
Fork up the money.
cost of getting on it. So,
Either that or we can try and negotiate.
well, like I said, the Treasury Department is probably the #1. The
Finance.
Finance Department's the #1 user of it. The Clerk's Department is right up there. The Building Department it's a great asset. The Rec Department gets a lot of usage from it, and there's no cost to them. Also, if there was a cost to them, they might make it a higher priority in their as a management tool. Right now, I think all the managers, the priority is not that high. It's more of a nuisance. I'm more like a thorn in their shoe, bothering them, saying, "Come on, update. Come on, give me some information. Come on, I think if we educate and get people to get in the habit of using the webpage as a communication tool, which it is, and right now it isn't a high priority. I think, if they were paying a little bit of maintenance cost on it, it might become a higher priority. But that's just my idea. But as far as the companies, I thought hands down it would be Revise. Revise has been shown a great interest of working with us. They have called me many times. Like I said, I didn't see anything negative as far as working with them, as far as designing and everything like that. And I thought they were extremely positive, and I think most of us walked out of that room thinking that they were, a big favorite. So.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Ted, you mentioned it was $80 a month extra?
Extra, well, I don't remember the exact cost per month to maintain the webpage.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was like $480 or something,
Yeah, it was a lot.
but that was with five
Yeah.
different people, say Dale, the Clerk's Department, Police, Fire, and me.
Yeah.
If somebody else wanted to use it, it would be $80 more a month. There were downsides as far as the other. One of them, we'd have to host it. Another one, Richard mentioned that if we changed our minds, we'd lose access, is the cheap word. And the one that I like, one thing about Revise is they had a very good security system where there was and Richard could describe it more, but there was like a wall between, once your information was there was a wall between losing it or, it's saved in 2 different places. And the security and the backup system I thought was the best of what we saw. So.
And if I could just offer a suggestion, one of the things that we do in our company is, say you have the 5 users and the township covers that cost across the board, and you have additional users and you're going to charge them $80, it's also possible that maybe that however many additional users you have, you spread the cost over all the users, so each department maybe kicks in an extra 5 or an extra 10 a month to cover 2 other users, so that one department doesn't get hit just because it's not, it's number 6.
Well, I think the politicians and I'm using that
I'm just
word broadly,
offering a suggestion, that's all.
Yeah, but another thought here, the politicians and the management has to realize that we are substantially increasing our per month web cost, because as of right now, we're going to have a per month maintenance cost we're going to have the Granicus costs for streaming and archiving, and agenda tabbing, which I forgot to mention, but and we have minutes on demand. So there are monthly costs that we're adding on every year, every other year, so that we're almost to the point that we're going to be around $1,000 a month of maintenance costs on the webpage. You know, and that's going to just be the cost of doing business.
Ted, does the minutes on demand come out of your budget?
No, that comes out of the clerk's.
Okay, that's what I was thinking it should have, okay.
And if I could just, I just mentioned it, Angie, this last board meeting, we experimented. We are now what I'm calling tabbing, starting to tab the meeting. So I'm going to be encouraging all commissions to get me the agendas as early as possible so that we can put the agenda on the streaming video, so when you watch the meeting, the agenda will be right there, so you can see the agenda, see what happened at that meeting. But what we're adding, one of the new features, is that during the meeting, and we can do it in post, as the agenda items change, when you go from consent agenda to action item, we tab it. So once it's posted on the webpage and you just want to watch public comment, you don't have to watch 2 hours of meeting or scroll to find it. You'll just be able to click on public comment and the video will go right to that point.
That makes sense.
I didn't check it today because sometimes it takes a day to go public, but we did that Monday on the board meeting, and I haven't announced it to the public because I want to make sure it's working before, because if you tell them it's working and it's not, you get more trouble if they accidentally discover it themselves. So we're going to start with the township board meeting, and by the end of the year, I would like to do the majority of meetings will be tabbed. So in the control room, as they are doing the duties there now, I've added one more. They'll tab the agenda so that the citizens can go right to the agenda items, as it'll make it a lot more convenient for them. So
That's really great, because I got tired
Back to
of
the revised, thumbs up.
Okay, all righty, well, we've got all that. We had 4 very good businesses that came in, Revised, Civic Plus, MuniWeb, and ePro. And I want to thank them all for participating in this. And it was long. Everybody had 1 hour, no more. We treated everybody with the same fairness, and I want to emphasize that. There are pros and cons. One of the pros I felt with Revise is that in 5 years, they offer a free website design upgrade. Now, in 5 years, who knows? Had we gone 3 years ago with the one that was just talked about, we had no direction, but was talked about, it would have been outmoded by now. So by waiting and investigating and doing our due diligence, which I think we've done very thoroughly, we are going to have what I would consider the state of the art at current, with the hero images across the top, the site map at the bottom. There's a lot of things that we have now that we wouldn't have had. They've made major improvements. I thought, as Richard did, that one downside is the 5. I think that can be negotiated, but we'll deal with that as it comes. This has to go through the board yet. They might not even want a new website. They also are local, but even if they weren't local, I probably would be for them because I felt they were more cutting edge than anybody. They are definitely on board with doing things mobile, so they'll be using chunk text. And I had a conversation yesterday with a young woman, 32, everything's mobile, everything's online. And I said, well, that's where we're going, because people want to see things instantaneously now. They're not going to schlep their laptops like we do. And there's a definite difference between the 40 and under and the 40 and over people and how they view things. I felt that out of all of them, they were the most progressive in what they could give us. They had things ready to go and tested, applications where some of the other ones perhaps didn't. that was very important. We want to be as cutting edge as we can. We want to spend the money as wisely as we can for the community and get the most we can at this point in time. I know the next day after it's put in, somebody's going to say we missed something, but at least we're going to try to get everything we can. So I feel that Revise would be the best choice out of all of them. And again, I want to thank the 4 who participated, and I also want to thank everyone who participated in the RFP process. It's grueling. It's lengthy and grueling and tedious, but it's important so that we have this for the community. It seemed like they really were eager. They're local, which is a plus. 2 of them were local, but this one very, very involved in municipal websites. This isn't a sideline for them. This seems to be their main business, which, again, we need that too. So in my opinion, it would be Revise. But I would like to ask the people who were not at present, do you have any questions of what we are talking about? Or is there something we have not discussed that we should for
Mine's
you?
working. I have a question. Did they give you any idea of timelines of if we choose Revise? Like what are we talking about in terms of time getting it done? And
I'm going to be honest with you. For most of these are all templates. And as Richard said, with Revise we get them. They've got it down. All we have to do is supply it to them. I did speak with, in my due diligence, I spoke with the city of Pontiac and the people who put in the website there. And they told me it took about 2 months. They had one face-to-face, if I'm not mistaken, or 2, but I think it's 1. But it's us getting the information to them. That's the thing. We have over 400 web pages. We might not want all 400 anymore. We might pare it down. But it's on our shoulders to get them the information. Once we get it to them and the choice of the colors and all that, which they've got packaged. This is not their first time at the rodeo. If we want to go with blues, they'll have like 5 different selections or whatever. It's canned for them. So it's. I think the timing is us, and that's what the gentleman in Pontiac told me. He said they would have been done sooner, but we couldn't get our act together. And I think that's going to be a real issue, and we're going to have to really tell everybody, you look at what you want, and then we're going to have to take a big black pen and say, okay, is this really what you want? Because we have a limitation on pages, and we've got to go forward on that. I just don't think there will be any problem. They do this for a living. This is a big deal to us, and like tonight, I'm very excited because we're moving forward after the survey and everything else we've done. Tonight, we're on the precipice of moving forward big time. And I think we've done everything we can that I can think of, and I think everybody's contributed to it moving forward. But this is everyday business for them. And they were the ones who, when we said, do you have X or Y? And they went, oh yeah, we do that. Yeah, we've been doing that for a while. Where other companies were not there. And that's what I liked. This was not new. They weren't testing it out. They weren't going to have it done in a month or 2. Or we're thinking about doing that. They were there. And that's what I want. So like I said, this is day-to-day business for them. And I'm sure they're watching right now. Any other questions? Because really, it's important tonight. I want everything flushed out. Uta?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
And I'm just going to wing it. All of this has been made a lot easier for me today by the fact that finally the board on Monday night approved a use policy that stipulates who has access to inputting information on the website and who doesn't. And my sticking point for all this time has always been, I believe it's the job of the delegated staff, of the administration and the managers, not of the elected officials, to be putting anything on our township website, because the township lives and breathes by its public image. And one wrong word, one misplaced comment could be damaging. And I think staff are well trained, they're available, police and fire, the clerk's office, finance, the manager. I think those are the relevant departments covered The policy has been approved, and so I think the whole onus of the content management system has kind of gone away, because now the township has done essentially what Sharon called, has a control mechanism for the way we use the website, the way the website is used. So I'm very pleased to hear you say all these good things about Revise. I was not present at the interviews, but I think you're all feeling very confident. I do hope the township can afford it, but
That's another-
I think it's finally going to be implemented and in the right direction, and the township will benefit greatly.
Okay. Well, do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to forward a recommendation to the board that we have selected Revise as the website vendor.
Second?
Okay, hold on one second.
Okay, let's make this.
Don't ask me to
Right.
to repeat that.
To forward to board,
Recommendation to the board.
commission recommendation, right?
Mhm.
Go on.
Revise,
To choose Revise?
to choose Revise,
To choose.
that we have selected or,
Oh,
choose.
yeah, there we go. Select,
Somewhere in there that are we accepting their bid or their proposal? Is that what this is? Or we-
To select
No,
Revise.
all we're doing is recommending
Yes.
Revise
Mhm.
to the,
Yeah, we're not recommending the price.
Okay,
Yeah.
and can we say to select Revise and
As the website
research
provider.
its bid, or
And negotiate a little bit more with the bid.
to select Revise?
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think the
As-
negotiate,
Yeah.
we could probably easily get more than
Website.
5.
Those are good words.
Yeah.
Vendor.
Negotiate is a great
And
word.
to negotiate, I'll read all this back
Sure.
to make sure. To forward to, okay, motion to forward to the board, commission recommendation to select Revise as website vendor and to negotiate a contract.
that sounds good to me.
For its services. To township communicate. So here's the final, Lauren moves to forward to township board that the communication commission recommends it selects Revise as website vendor, and that it should negotiate a contract for, and to negotiate a contract for its services.
That
It
sounds
can be
good to
tightened
me.
up later on as far as.
Do we have a second?
But that's excellent.
Do you know how many
I
times
second
I tabbed each motion? Okay, and we need a second, you're right, Richard.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
I think a tear just came out of my eye.
We have moved forward. Yay.
Excellent.
Okay. All righty. I think that was very good. New business. We have an applicant and for an application submission for the Communication Commission. The lady's name is Nicole Finney. She has lived here for a few years. I had a lovely chat with her. She has a lot of background in communication. She also has a degree in psychology, which I think that might be helpful. And she's working on her PhD thesis. She's doing it all online. I like to meet with people, as I did with you, Sharon, to discuss what they think the Communication Commission is and what communication is right now. And I was very concerned about her going for her PhD. Because, we don't want somebody to start, we've had problems in the past where people thought they had time and they didn't. And we had a lovely chat. She's very energetic, very enthusiastic, and, about the website. And I said, remember, that ship has passed. We're voting on it tomorrow. So, but I invited her to come next, after we discussed everything, and she seemed to still be eager to participate. I invited her to come to our meeting next month, so you have time to look at her background. Her phone number is there, but we will have we will be off TV next month because of that, when we have a discussion. But she's very young and eager and new to the community and wants to contribute. So I thought I'd tell you that. Any questions?
But that meeting will be open to the public.
Always, yes.
Is the entire meeting going to be closed or just that particular moment?
No, I just don't want it on TV.
Right.
I just,
We can opt not to meet on camera,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but the
Right.
meeting has to be open to the public.
Right, absolutely. Okay. Any questions, anybody? Okay. All righty. Old business, internal website terms and use policy. I gave you a copy of what we had received, I think, on the 5th or the 10th of April. And then I gave you a copy of what was passed Monday night by the board. And there are differences. And since we have not approved this, and you have not seen the final draft, I thought it pertinent to us to have this discussion. So, let me see where my little documents are. If you'll go through the second document, the one dated July 31st, I think it's number 5, that whole item was not included, and the last line, if I'm not mistaken. Where's all my stuff?
It was section 5,
Yeah, section 5, I'm pretty sure, that we've not seen.
standards of conduct.
Yes. Yeah, that was not included. I wanted everybody to be made aware of that. We did not recommend this, and I wanted everybody to see this. Any comments?
My comment is simply that I was surprised that it was on the Township Board agenda for Monday night, but I like the end result that came out of the motion. I am disappointed, though, we did begin this discussion with the first draft on April 10, and it wasn't brought back to our body in the meantime. I guess to some degree, there were some recommendations that I had written down that I would have made in a discussion, but I think bottom line, I just felt like we were made a little superficial by not having a recommendation from this body. But, and in speaking to some of the board members, I get that they wanted to get this done, but at the same time, we spend a lot of time here, and maybe, yes, sometimes it's too much time, and so I would like to think that we don't always, in expediency, kind of put the cart before the horse just to get something done. But in the end, in this case, I think it turned out okay. What was very, very important to me, and I'll just reiterate it, I know comments were made that this process has taken 3 years, has taken so long. The one thing that was recommended 3 years ago by the Website Advisory Committee that was never ever done was a use policy by the Township Board for who would have access to inputting data on the website. And that was the sticking point from the get-go. And that it finally got through, I think that is going to be the good thing. I think it's important that multiple staff have the ability to put information out on the website. But at the same time, there are so many opportunities for messing things up that you really want to limit it to an educated, small group. And that motion on Monday night finally did that. So, I was disappointed, but at the same time, I'm like, but at least it's done.
Right.
So, you know me, I'm a stickler for process, so I don't like when that happens, but at the same time, it's done. We've
Right.
nominated a website vendor, and so.
Well, I appreciate your
hoping we can-
comments, and it doesn't fall on deaf ears, so I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Well, I too was very disappointed, because although this might be something that it was good to have done, it really wouldn't have mattered if they waited to the next meeting. And also, maybe now it's like anything. Once you've broken the pattern of the process, what if we weren't working fast enough to get a website vendor. Would they just decide to pick one? Because we're not moving fast enough. And the whole point of this commission and the thoroughness, and it really hasn't been 3 years. What it's been is the last year, once we did the survey, it's been less than a year. And I am glad that when this thing was brought up, and I remember you were on whatever that commission.
Website Advisory Committee.
I didn't even know what was going on because, you know, Daryl was the head of it, of our commission, and we were not involved at all. They just took that.
Pam was your liaison?
Yeah.
And she was a part of the web.
But they never came to us. They never said, you know, get a website, never do this. We've been really working on this since the survey was done, since the RFP, and we would have had this done sooner, but we couldn't get quorum last year. So, because some of the people who recommended things never came to the meetings. And a lot of times, if you can recommend anything. I've been in meetings recently for the township where I walked in and everybody was on this side of the room. And after a 2-hour discussion, it was unanimous on this side. So a lot of times, and I was surprised, I mean, it was a complete flip-flop. It's good to have discussion, and I would hope that this is not going to be a habit. I would hope that this is just one of those things that occurred that will move on, will be positive, but I would be very disappointed if the commission process is minimized in the future. So, but that's where I'm at. Anybody else?
I appreciate that, Kathy.
Okay. All right, and public comment? Is everybody's left? Our public has left. One last thing. Tuesday nights, we kayak. It's rocking. Come on down. I got to do this. Come on. I've got to. It's really working. Everybody's behind it. Everybody's having a great time. We stopped today. We saw a lady, and she thanked us profusely. We're getting people from off island too, which is wonderful because that's the first step to the migration process.
That's right.
We had people from Monroe, we had people from Wyandotte, we had lots of people from Grosse Ile. We want everyone, it's free, come on down Tuesday nights at 6. Okay. All righty, our next commission meeting, September 11th, 2013. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Was that Sharon?
Nope, Lauren.
Oh, Lauren.
Yeah.
And second?
I second.
And Richard?
And we are adjourned at 8:07. Yay.
8:07 p.m.